It's hour number 2. Max Kaiser is our guest. We're going to take some calls specifically for Max on the economy, on MF Global, and the huge aftershocks of that. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. But we'll continue with him for a while before we get to those calls. And up in the next segment, I want to play a clip of what he's talking about. Specifically, then, you've been told by sources, I want to nail this down, that the word was given, you better do this.
Yes, Alex, but why should we be surprised? This is no big thing. This is the world we live in. Bankers are now terrorists. They're financial terrorists. They threaten to kill you unless you give them money, and they'll take it right out of your individual account. The brokerage account statement that you get every month is worthless. The bank account statement you get every month is just symbols on a piece of paper. It doesn't mean you own any of that stuff. The way the law works now, the second you put cash in a bank, the bank owns that cash, and they can take it for whatever reason they want to. Anyone who has money in a bank or a brokerage firm, it's not your money anymore, and I hope you don't ever want to believe that you'll ever have use of that money. This is what we're learning from the MF Global scandal, and let me point out something very, very important here. The HSBC, the bank in London, has now got a lawsuit against MF Global as it relates to the GLD, which is the gold that trades on the New York Stock Exchange. They have something like 3,000 tons. It's a huge percentage of gold. As it becomes clear now that anyone who owns GLD does not own anything but a worthless piece of paper, people are now liquidating GLD and SLV, which is JPMorgan's custodian silver vehicle. That's why gold and silver are down today. It's a direct result of MF Global. Here's something else. The money stolen from MF Global in the commodity accounts relating to silver, if you do the accounting, is the exact same to the gram amount that JPMorgan just reported on their books that they increased the amount of silver. They are short silver, as reported on your show many times. They need silver desperately, or they'll go out of business. That Comex, again, risk of going out of business. They needed that money, that silver. They took it directly out of customer accounts. Those customers who don't have the silver in their accounts, it's now in JPMorgan's books. They stole it because they don't want to have to suffer any consequences from being a licentious, litigiously larcenistic, assassination crew of gangsters who want all your frickin' money. So this is what we're dealing with.
And it is a type of insanity. I mean, they run the world. They run the major militaries. They have nuclear weapons. And they say it all the time. We have nuclear weapons. We can do whatever we want. And they're crazy. And they're hiring cops and enforcers and bureaucrats that are crazy. And I run into bureaucrats and cops and people, not all of them, but a lot of them, and they're like crazy now. They're just so confident. And, of course, we know pride goeth before a fall. And they're like Caligula. They're delusional. I think they're going to start World War III, Max. I think they're going to destroy all of us. I mean, these people are nuts.
Well, they're just greedy. That's all there is to it. I mean, Diamond and Lloyd Blankfein and Wall Street and the City of London, they're just greedy. I think what happened going back to 9/11, it scared the heck out of them. And from 9/11 going forward, their mission has been to take as much as they possibly can because they fear that, you know, the barbarians are at the gate, and they've just used an opportunity. They've changed the laws to steal all the physical assets, all the gold and all the silver and all the real assets. They swapped it with tons of debt. That debt, of course, can't be paid, and the people are revolting all over the world. Time magazine had the protester as the person of the year. That's the global insurrection against banker occupation. That's the direct result of bankers changing laws to make it easy.
But here's the deal. JPMorgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, they already ran the world. So why just toxify everything so they can grab all the little crumbs and then turn everyone against them? That's what I'm saying. They're megalomaniacs. There's no way.
Look, I don't know how many rich people you know, Alex, but the rich people tend to want to be richer. You know, the greatest wealth and disparity is not between the 1% and the bottom 99%. It's between the top 1/10 of 1%.
Yeah, that's key. Let's explain the ultra-rich versus the 1% when we get back. Gunter Spence was a member of the East German Army. He was a colonel, and he was at the main base at Leipzig, where they refused to fire on the German citizens that caused the fall of the Berlin Wall. He's a part of Oath Keepers, and it's on record that all this happened. amazing is before that, they would shoot the people trying to cross. There's a famous photo from the 60s that my mother brought me back from Germany, and I put it in storage, and now I can't find it. It was a big poster, blow-up of the photo, and it's of the barbed wire there in East Berlin, and it's a woman, and she's gone through, and the toddler has gotten caught in the barbed wire, and he lifts up the barbed wire, gets the child, and hands it over, and there's several photos, but I have one of them. You can find them online. I forget the name of it. And boy, that soldier that helped that baby get to its parents, never seen again. And this is the decision coming here in America. You're always going to be given a good cover story, a good reason to hate the American people and go along with this. For totally ruthless banks. I mean, Corzine is the main financial advisor to Obama. Corzine is one of their main architects. Corzine's a former New Jersey governor, former head of Goldman Sachs. He sets up MF Global. He goes out and makes 40-to-1 bets. The media said 38-to-1 bet. Guys are saying 40-to-1 bet. The point is, and it's JPMorgan money, and then it was reported the money went there, and then the media is so controlled they won't talk about it. Now, Max Kaiser's our guest. Before we went to break, he was raising the point of Occupy Wall Street's talking about the 1%. It's 1/10 of 1% that actually controls everything. And they're the ultra-rich waging war against the free market. They are monopoly capitalist, crony capitalist, in their own words. The founder of the Rockefeller dynasty said competition is a sin. So, Max, briefly speak to that, but I need to get to the main reason you're here. CME chief alleges Corzine aware of transfers, and we have the testimony here. He had the prepared testimony on the CME Group website, as he's done another testimony. Suddenly he broke with it and said, I was told in the meetings that Corzine knew and gave the orders to take the money. Now, again, he's saying, I'm not going to go down with the ship for you. And that gives us faith, folks, because if Corzine can go to jail, like Madoff, then Jamie Dimon can go to jail. Because, folks, they all need to be in jail. It could all end. You know, the infrastructure of tyranny is there now, so the problem is if you get rid of these guys, more will get in there. But if you send enough of them to prison and then expose it like a bad nightmare, it can end, because then the documents will come out, whistleblowers won't be as scared. There's huge persecution of whistleblowers going on right now on record, media people being persecuted. It can stop. But they think they're going to bring in a Northcom tyranny and get away with it all, like they're doing in Europe. I mean, they're announcing banks took over through fraud, Goldman Sachs rules Europe. That's headlines. They're celebrating. But really, they're little scared crooks like Corzine, who looks scared in those testimony, because he's up there bald-faced lying, folks. Of course he knows where the money went. The government knows where the transfers went. This claim, Max Kaiser, speak to that, and then the 1/10 of 1% instead of the 1%. And then I want to get into the big enchilada, why you think he is jumping ship and not playing patty cake, and will his kids start being found dead, or will he die in a car wreck?
Well, he's a whistleblower, and we know that whistleblowers are targeted. Again, you know, the Andrew Maguire case from just a few months ago, testifying about JPMorgan's manipulation of the silver market in London, and he was hit by a car. So this type of thing. So he's acting as a whistleblower. And
he said it came out of nowhere. It was after him.
Well, he had a crisis of conscience and suddenly spilled the beans. So this happens sometimes. Human beings occasionally have a crisis of conscience. You know, occasionally a human being will respond to a moral good. Occasionally that happens, and this is what happened. Suddenly he became human, and this is something that the MF Global or JPMorgan hadn't counted on, that somebody would act like a human being. That was a human being risk. They weren't hedged against humanity. They're not hedged against people acting like humans. They're only have robots down on the floor of the exchange who do their bidding by conducting algorithmic trading, that it's all programmed to steal money every single day. But getting to this 1% issue, you know, the 1% versus the 99%. To make it into the 1% in America, you need $1 million in cash, okay? Now, the fact is there are millions of people in America with $1 million in cash. It's no big thing.
And they're the ones that buy cars and go to your restaurant and buy houses and get rock walls built at their houses. They're the people that run the economy.
They're just middle management types.
Yeah.
Now, to get to, let's say, $10 billion, which is a nice chunk of money, you're making $27 million every single day for 365 days. And that's what somebody in the top 1/10 of 1% makes. They make $27 million every single day. A hedge fund manager pays themselves $5, $10 billion.
And I've noticed in their divorce cases and stuff, it comes out that they're obsessed with beating each other, and it's all like a race car race as they destroy the world. I guess that plays to that suicide banker point you make.
Well, this is, if you go to the Bellhaven Club in Greenwich, Connecticut, and you sit around with a bunch of billionaire hedge fund managers, they're all basically just competing with each other, and they're willing to throw the country under the bus to do it. And they think it's oh so amusing. And having, been with these folks, myself working on Wall Street as a stockbroker for many years, that's the mentality. So when you say, why do they think they need to go from 100 million to 200 million or from 1 billion to 5 billion? Because that's who they're competing with. And they're willing to break any law, write new laws, or kill somebody. It's no big deal to kill somebody. And that's just par for the course.
And here's the other big issue. They've got the government on the payroll, and so now as crimes are committed, everybody in the system's engaged in some kind of crime, so they can't blow the whistle on an even bigger crime, because then that will bring them down. And so there's a natural progression where the crimes get wilder and wilder and crazier, like DuPont running around raping people and driving tanks with machine guns in the local town screaming, "I'm God." I mean, and the cops are like, that's just what he does.
Well, you say the government's on the payroll. The payroll is stretching it a little bit because, for $200,000, you can get Congress to write a new law for a bank on Wall Street. That's hardly pay. That's a stipend. It's
not even chicken feed. That's the thing. They sell out for not even 1/1,000,000th.
Yeah, I'd love to see Congress hold out and try to, at least for half of, $3 or $4 million before they break the law for a bank. Maybe that would help solve the deficit in America. But they'll do it for $200,000. Almost anybody can buy a congressman. They're so cheap. They're like $2 whores. Almost anyone can get a congressman to change a law for you. And if it takes $100,000 or $200,000, and if you're a bank on Wall Street,
you're right. They are the equivalent. They are the equivalent of disheveled crack whores with cigarette burns all over them that are less than a quarter.
Yeah,
I've seen poor crack whores that look like Dawn of the Dead zombies.
The bonuses on Wall Street last year were $140 billion. So when you read about folks like, there's a party of 5 or 6 brokers in Paris celebrating their bonus, and by the way, the check for the meal for dinner was $130,000, that's nothing to them. That's absolutely nothing. That's no money to them because they're getting paid billions. So, and where does that money come from? It comes from society that has to underwrite and subsidize these people through austerity. And that's why you have a global insurrection against banker occupation, because the globe doesn't want to pay the welfare to Jamie Dimon anymore. They don't want to pay Lloyd Blankfein's welfare anymore. They want to just work and make money for themselves. They don't want to tithe their money to the Lord Blankfein like it's some kind of medieval feudal serfdom. No, they want to work and live like a real person.
Now, again, here is Terry Duffy, who was saying none of this was true just 2 weeks ago. Now he changed his testimony. He had prepared on-the-record text that said one thing, and then he changed 3 lines. And it says, after receiving this information, this is the change part, CME remained at MF Global, while MF Global attempted to identify funds that could be transferred. So CMT's actually in there catching them into segregation to reduce or eliminate the discrepancy. A CME auditor also participated in a phone call with senior MF Global employees, wherein, and now those same employees have been caught lying and saying we met but didn't talk about anything. One employee, at 2 in the morning, we just met and didn't do anything at the office. One employee indicated that Mr. Corzine knew about the loans and had been made from the customer segregated accounts. Of course he knew. Now they're saying no one knows. The government knows where the money went. It was JPMorgan. CME Group has provided this information, the names of the individuals, to the DOJ. Good luck. The DOJ's run by, from our research, the guy that ran the OKC bombing. These are hardcore killers, folks. Man, I can't believe I have to challenge killers like this, but I have to do it. Somebody's got to not be a coward. Continuing, individuals to the DOJ and the CFTC who were investigating these matters. Boom. Well, again, Max, we're going to go to break, come back, play the clip, keep you longer because I want to go to calls. But, it's right there. The Justice Department knows. They're telling the public they don't know where $1,200,000,000 at least went. The government knows where a $10,000 check goes. They know where every dime went. They knew a month ago it was JPMorgan, but they're God, so no one can talk about them.